Hey everybody, AC here, and welcome to another terrible theory. So in the last theory, we talked about how the Master Sword could possibly be either destroyed or damaged beyond repair, and how the Malice might have taken something from it in order to do that. So this is kind of a continuation a bit of that theory, but I wanted to dedicate uh, a separate theory to this idea. So my thought is, why would Ganondorf specifically go after the Master Sword? What is it that he's trying to take out? If he's trying to take something out of the Master Sword, what is it? In the last video, I talked about how I think it might be the darkness of Demise, because at the end of Skyward Sword, when Demise is defeated, part of his darkness is sealed within the Master Sword. Part of his darkness is sealed within the Master Sword, and so Demise was never truly had never truly been defeated. So long as that piece of Demise exists within the Master Sword, Demise will continue to be reincarnated again and again and again in the form of Ganondorf or Ganon. He will always be reborn so long as that darkness exists within the Master Sword. So, my theory is, what if Ganondorf takes that darkness out of the Master Sword, thus damaging it beyond repair in the process in order to obtain the power of Demise, making him the most powerful Ganondorf we've ever seen. He has the power of Demise, one of the god of darkness. The god of darkness, Demise, his power would be wielded by Ganondorf in Breath of the Wild 2. And I think that actually is I think there's a very good chance of that actually being the case, especially given how many Skyward Sword references there are in Breath of the Wild 2, what with going to the sky. I think that along with the fact that Skyward Sword just recently got its HD port, I think that there's going to be a tie-in between this story and Skyward Sword. I think that there is going to be a tie-in. I think that maybe when we have to reforge the Master Sword, say goodbye to Fi for the final time. And I think that the other thing that's going to happen is Demise's power is going to be taken out of the Master Sword, given to Ganondorf, and he's going to become the most powerful version of him we've ever seen. However, this does come with one major consequence. When we defeat Ganondorf this time, if he does have the power of Demise with him this time around, if he takes it out of the Master Sword, that's it. That's the end of the curse. The curse that Demise placed on Link and Zelda, that so long as Link and Zelda continue to be reborn, he will be too. Demise will be reborn time and time again to oppose them. He will be reborn. He will continue to be reborn, and then Link and Zelda are going to have to continue to oppose him just over and over and over. It's an endless cycle. It's a curse. It's the curse of Demise. It is the thing that has driven the overarching plot of the entire series. So this leads me to wonder, what exactly is Nintendo's plan here? What are they planning to do? Well, what if their plan is to end Demise's curse, thus end the constant reincarnation of Ganon, and have this be the final time we face Ganondorf? Now, that's not to say that Ganon himself will never make another appearance, but this will be the last time we face Ganondorf. It is still possible that Ganon can live on, and like maybe new villains will try to use Ganon's power for themselves, like how we see in say Spirit Tracks and A Link Between Worlds, with the villains of those games utilizing Ganon's power for their own purposes. I know it's never outright confirmed that the being that the Chancellor ends up gaining power from is Ganon. I know that's never actually confirmed, but given the look of given how the Chancellor ends up looking when he transforms, I think it's pretty obvious that it's Ganon's power he's utilizing. To me, at least, that's what it seems like. But in any case, so that is still a possibility. We could still get games like that where they are utilizing Ganon's power. However, Breath of the Wild 2 would, in that case, be the final time we see Ganondorf. And this would continue the theme of the Breath of the Wild story, where they are mixing the formula up. They are completely changing the formula of Zelda. They're just completely changing it. It's no longer the same Legend of Zelda that it was when Ocarina of Time came around. It's no longer the same. It's no longer the same formula. It's completely different this time around. So I personally like this idea, but I understand that a lot of people are going to think, "Oh, there's no way Nintendo is going to do that. There's no way Nintendo is going to do that because Ganondorf is one of your three main characters in the Zelda series. It's always Link, Zelda, and Ganondorf. There's no way they're going to just completely write him out of the series. Who's going to be the main villain from then on?" And yes, I understand that that is a legitimate concern for a lot of people. However, it's not like Nintendo hasn't done this before. They have several times in the past taken existing franchises and completely changed the formula up from what they were. A perfect example are 2D Mario to 2D Mario to 3D Mario, 2D Zelda to 3D Zelda. The formula had to change in the transition between 2D and 3D. That's just the way it was. The formula had to change. They have done that before. This would simply be the next step in their evolution. And as a closer comparison, Metroid Dread, which comes out in just a few days, in like less than a week. Metroid Dread is going to be the end of the Metroid saga for the series. Samus is done dealing with the Metroids and the X-Parasite after this game. This is it. This is where that story of the Metroid saga ends. And we know that the Metroid series is going to continue on in the future. This isn't going to be the last Metroid game at all. Like we know this from interviews that they do they do plan on making other Metroid games, but this is the last one having to do with the saga dealing with Metroids. This is the last one having to deal with that. So the main threat of the series, the namesake of the series, Metroid, is no longer going to be a factor, which means that they are going to be changing the formula up and having a different major threat take over instead of having her deal with Metroids. So that is a huge change. The main threat of the entire series is no longer going to be present after this game. And I think that Nintendo is beginning to pave the way for massive changes to a lot of their existing IPs, because it's not just Metroid. Pokemon is getting a huge derive from their usual formula with Arceus. Pokemon Legends Arceus is going to be vastly different from anything we've ever gotten from Pokemon. And it could very well be the beginning of the new Pokemon. We might end up saying goodbye to Pokemon as we've known it all the way up until now. Gens 1 through 8, that's the old Pokemon. Arceus and whatever comes next could very well be anything that comes after Arceus could very well be in the same kind of gameplay and style as Arceus. It could very well be like that. And that would completely change the way the game is played. It will completely change the way people play the game, people view the game. It will change the competitive outlook of Pokemon entirely. Everything is going to be completely different. So, major changes for Nintendo's IPs are on the horizon. A lot of major changes for them are on the horizon. So, I don't think it's too far of a stretch to think that Zelda might also be getting ready for a major change. That change could very well be the end of Demise's curse and the end of this whole saga that we've been through with every Zelda game. Because every Zelda game up till now has been part of one giant Demise's curse saga. So ending it here would allow them to form new stories, have a new villain to take over as the iconic villain of the series. It may take a few games before they become as iconic as Ganondorf is, but I do think that Nintendo can pull it off. And they've already kind of done it with Vati. Vati is the second most iconic villain in the Legend of Zelda series. Vati was a major threat for three different Zelda adventures: Minish Cap, Four Swords, and Four Swords Adventures. So Vati was the main threat throughout like all three of those. So I think it is very possible that we might get more new villains. Villains that can replace ultimately replace Ganondorf as the years go on. I truly believe that we are going to see the end of Ganondorf and Demise's curse in Breath of the Wild 2. But I want to know, what do you guys think? Do you think we're going to get to see the end of Demise's curse? Or do you think something else is going to happen? Let me know in the comment box below. I'd love to keep the conversation going. I'd love to hear your thoughts. And just let me know in the box below, how excited are you for Breath of the Wild 2? What is the one thing, the one improvement you are hoping to see from Breath of the Wild 1 to Breath of the Wild 2? What's the number one thing you're hoping to see? I'm not going to tell you mine just yet. I plan on making entirely another video at some point talking about all the things that I want to see in Breath of the Wild 2. So I'll be making that at another time. But for now, that's going to do it for me. So thank you, everybody, so much for watching. Hope you enjoyed. If you did, like, comment, subscribe, hit that notification bell, all that good jazz. And I will see you all in the next video. Take care, everyone.